Hey Stags fans, welcome back to another edition of From the Director's Chair. The midsummer episode here is, it's been a couple of months since we've been on the air with you guys, but hope you all have enjoyed your summer. JJ Duke here with Paul Schlickman, the athletics director here, and hopefully you enjoyed your summer as well.
Not quite over, but when you hit August 1st, it feels like it's getting there. But
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
This is our summer update. We're very, very close to beginning the fall season. And Paul, we kind of look back on your first year as the athletics director here, and I know it was a little bit of a challenging start, not because of the fact that, taking the job, but just because of the fact that you didn't start right at the jump. You came in a couple of weeks in, having to get settled down a little bit. But overall, how would you assess your first year here?
Overall thrilled with what we accomplished, and again credit our student athletes and coaches and staff. I think overall we had a terrific year on the competitive front. I think the 5 MAC championships and coming close on a few others. In the academic realm, our athletes continue to produce and achieve at a very high level in the community. They did some great things. So I think all the things that we continue to point to, that we focus on, I think we showed some great results. Generally speaking, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm more excited than ever about being at Fairfield, about the type of community it is, about the type of institution it is, about the vision that our leadership shares for the future and the trajectory that we're on. I think it's a great time to be a Stag, and the sense of forward thinking and leadership and the team-oriented aspect of how we're working together, I think is just really exciting, and it's a great thing to be a part of, and really exciting about, I think, where we can go as an institution and as an offshoot of that, where I think we can go athletically. So I've said this to multiple groups, I think there's no better time to be associated with this university, and we've got incredible things going on, and institutionally, athletically accomplished some great things, but I truly believe our best days are ahead of us. And so that's really exciting to be a part of something like that, and that energy that surrounds that.
And a lot of the forward thinking also comes from this time of the year. This summer season for you, this being your first year here during the summer, what has been the big story that has come out of this group, pretty much from from Memorial Day to where we are right now?
Right, so it really comes in stages, and you're right. I think the misnomer is that, yes, things slow down a little bit, and maybe it's a little bit of a better pace, but we still have students here going to summer school. We still have a lot of athletes working out in the weight room, those who are local. So there's still visibility. We have coaches doing camps, so there's still a lot of activity. The first part of it is kind of an initial way to take a step back and kind of assess the year. So we have, evaluative conversations. We sit down and assess the year and have evaluative conversations with all our coaches and our head coaches and our senior staff, and assess the year and go about that process. We obviously have our to-do list for the summer, and so I think everybody across campus tries to do the same thing in terms of, it's a time to kind of dig in and do some projects. So I'm really excited about what we've had going on really since the day the students left. So we've got a lot of good things happening in this building in particular, for some facility projects, some being formulated, some visible. We've done a lot on the branding side. So I think our athletes will come back and see some new things that'll kind of re-energize and rejuvenate Walsh and our environment. Again, trying to help us create the best possible environment for athletes and rejuvenate and energize them, and help our brand and help our ability to recruit the best and the brightest. So it's all trying to keep those factors in mind. So we've been busy, but it's exciting. That's the fun part, is to kind of envision doing some of those things that will enhance who we are and what we're all about, and hopefully energize the athletes, and trying to get ready for them to come back, and we're at that point.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a little bit about the facility updates and what student athletes as well as the fans could kind of expect here coming into this new season. We're sitting right here in the baseball locker room, which was just recently redone, and it's not the only project that's been really in the works here.
We've had a lot in the works over the summer, so we're excited about the work that we're doing, and I credit our staff in terms of their efforts and working very closely with our institutional facilities staff to get things done and get things in the works and do them in a pretty short period of time. So the facility aspect of it is ongoing. You're always trying to enhance where you live and where your athletes spend the better part of their day. And so we want to create the best possible environment for them, for their daily training, their daily development, academically, competitively, and otherwise. And have them feel good about the experience they're having in their digs, so to speak. So this locker room is the shining example of the baseball locker room. But one of the things we've done amongst many things we have cooking this summer is assessing the needs of all our teams in terms of their locker room space. So we're developing a plan to hopefully create similar type atmospheres for each of them. That is in large part driven by the generosity of our donors who have made a lot of this possible. Some of the plaques in here are indicative of the generosity of our alums and our donors and our constituents who make these types of things possible. So we're doing a lot of branding initiatives throughout the building to do a better job of telling our story, to showcasing and celebrating our successes, not only for our current staff and coaches and athletes, but telling our story to our visitors and those who we're trying to bring to campus to recruit to come to Fairfield. So there's multifaceted strategic thinking on it. We've mentioned the development of our fueling station, I think, on a previous episode. Well, that's the aesthetic piece, the branding piece in our varsity weight room, which is strength and conditioning center, which is right down the hall. There are not many mid-major programs of our size who will have that type of offering. And so we're incredibly excited about it. A, because it's a huge benefit to the nutritional well-being of our athletes and development on a daily basis. So that's going to be phenomenal for them. So excited to have them benefit from that daily after their workouts and their training and their development. Our academic center, nothing more important than continuing to provide them with the best possible environment for them to achieve at a high level academically, which they do, and all the statistics indicate that. So we've gone to great length to revamp that and make it more modern and make it more functional and make it a better space for them to want to spend time. And based on not only the volume that showed up there in the spring semester, but more traffic than ever before during the summer. Those students who were here and just going in there to study and spend time. So really excited about those two things. We're scratching the surface. I think we've accomplished a lot or are accomplishing a lot over the summer in that regard, but we got a lot of work to do. And but it's exciting to see these pieces, come to fruition.
And also another story piece that we're going to be telling and the fans will be excited to see when they get to the Webster Bank Arena for basketball season. There's going to be a little bit of a new look, not to the arena itself, but the floor that the teams will be playing on.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we've got 3 different floors that we're working on this summer too. And we're going to have a refurbished Webster Bank Arena floor. We're going to have a resurfaced Alumni Hall floor, and we're going to have a resurfaced Walsh practice facility floor. So having a positive impact for our athletes and trying to be the best that we can be in all fronts.
Now we get into the fall season here. Preseason is well underway. It's here. It's ready to go. The first home game across all sports is going to be women's soccer as they take on Wagner. That's coming up on Friday, August the 24th. But you have to look at the fall season because you have men's soccer who won the MAC last year. You have volleyball who won the MAC last year. Field hockey who won the MAC last year, and women's soccer brought in a new coach in Dave Barrett. I know he's been doing a lot of work in getting his team to the pinnacle of the MAC, and this is a big time right now for Fairfield Athletics to really set the tone early.
Sure is. We had a heck of a fall last year, no question about it, and great success by multiple programs. So hopefully we can continue that momentum, as I just alluded to. So men's soccer, they're excited about all the quality minutes that a lot of young guys got last year and having them back, and some talented freshmen coming in. Women's soccer, obviously new leadership, re-energized group. So I'm really excited about seeing that program continue to evolve and the positive energy that surrounds it and what Dave's going to do there. And he's assembled a great staff.
It's about you. That's what taking pride in is.
And we talked about the facility part of it too, and I neglected to mention that we have a new soccer practice field adjacent to Lessing that's really going to help that program and continue to diversify our arsenal of facilities, if you will, to help the day-to-day development of our athletes. And so all those things, go a long way towards the student experience and their development. Volleyball, I'm sure Coach Kress will downplay it, and they lost some extraordinary talent, but I think what he's done and continues to do on a yearly basis, they will still be a team to contend with.
Quick, 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 quick!
And field hockey defending champs, I think they'll be hopefully right in the mix as well. So excited about the fall. I think we got a lot of good games in front of us and it'll be fun to watch.
Absolutely, and for those who, if you can't get here to Fairfield's campus, you can always stay tuned for information about how you can watch the games as home as well. Moving quickly ahead, I know it's a long, well, it doesn't feel like a long way because basketball
Not that long.
it's almost here, but
It'll be here before you know it.
Fairfield University actually had an open practice for the men, and it went very well. It was very well attended. It's an opportunity for the fan base to get their first look at the team. How was that experience?
I thought it was very well received, and I thought it was a great success. Credit our marketing staff, some of whom are filming us right now, and Zach Dayton and his staff for putting it together. We had a great turnout. Kind of a mixture of season ticket holders and some of the campers that attended coaches camp along with their parents. So it was a great mix. Just a great opportunity to kind of have some communication and interaction with our athletes, which I think our constituents and our season ticket holders really enjoy. I mean, it's all about that. And we have some extraordinary kids who are really, do great things and represent us really well. And it was a good chance for them to kind of get a sneak preview of not just watching the kids run up and down the scrimmage for a little bit, but having Coach talk about last year and how that momentum hopefully can continue with the group we have now. There's a lot of good positive things to build off of from last year that I think are helping the competitive nature of our program and the recruiting aspect and the brand identity of Fairfield basketball, and I think it's going to translate well. So I'm excited about that.
I'm going to pass to them on the wing for a shot. We good? Let's be great. Come on, over there.
Well, the next time you can take a look at Sydney Johnson's squad in action is going to be Saturday, October 20th. That's going to be during Alumni Weekend. That's the annual red-white scrimmage. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that, as well as the non-conference schedule was recently unveiled, and that is a very challenging schedule.
It is. I think sometimes it can be, you have to peel back the layers of the onion a little bit sometimes to really understand that those teams that are on that list all were very competitive and playoff contenders, and in large part contenders for their respective conference titles. So it's very competitive top to bottom. So we got our work cut out for us, but I think that's good. I think not only in terms of the competitive nature of the schools, but the schools we're playing in, and it's part of a gradual process to continually enhance philosophically and competitively our men's basketball schedule. And in terms of the schools we want to play, that like-minded institutions, other Jesuit schools, other schools of great academic caliber, I think it's good for us to do that. And there's a lot of competitive schools out there that not only are very good for us competitively, but also schools that our fans like to see us play. And it generates a lot of excitement, and hopefully increases our engagement by our fan base. And so there's a multi-dimensional, multi-year plan to try and continue to upgrade that.
Well, if you want to take a look at the schedule right now, it's currently up on our website. 7 different opponents with 19 or more wins from last year. You talked about the Boston College game, which is going to be part of a 3-game series over the next 3 years. You have a weekend coming out in Seattle over the holidays. 3 home games during that schedule, as well as against LIU Brooklyn, Wagner, and Horizon League opposition Oakland University. That's a name you don't often hear in these parts. But to get your tickets now, they're on sale. Just visit fairfieldstags.com. Also, women's schedule as well has not been fully revealed yet. Any updates currently on that front?
They're close. I think they've got 1 or 2 gaps to fill, and certainly we're waiting to kind of really finish everything off in terms of the whole picture on the men's and women's side with the MAC schedule as well. So they're close, but again, I think the philosophy is consistent in terms of the type of schools we want to compete against and play for all the same reasons. And the ones you mentioned on the men's side, a lot of that is consistent. So on the women's side, you'll see some Ivy League schools, you'll see some Patriot League schools, you'll see some CAA schools and like-minded institutions, and who also play really good basketball. And you mentioned, going out to Seattle on the men's side. Well, it's strategically, institutionally, that's an area will become an area of focus for us to recruit students. So, and we're playing a Jesuit school. So there's multifaceted strategic thinking in terms of how we're going about this. And Boston College at some level speaks for itself why we'd want to schedule them, but to do it in a multi-year way and get them to come to us in that second year, that's great for us, and it's great for our fan base to have the opportunity to see an ACC team, a fellow Jesuit institution, play in our facility. And so we're excited, and we want to continue to try and do some of those things that help us on a number of fronts.
Absolutely. And quickly, before we get to our Ask Paul segment, one very important note that came in through the summer, the academic awards came rolling in as the months went on, and Fairfield University across all platforms well represented. Two in particular, Will Fox, face-off man for men's lacrosse, was named a USILA Scholar All-American, and Megan Thyler, really the pride and heart of women's volleyball throughout her 4 years, was named the MAC Female Student Athlete of the Year, which the third time a Fairfield athlete has won that major award. That has to make you very happy.
It does. I probably sound like a broken record in every one of these director's chair episodes that we do, but rightfully so, we should continue to touch on the academic side of the house, because I am continually impressed and amazed by what our student athletes accomplish. Some of the highlights individually that you mentioned, which are spectacular. I mean, Will and Megan, represent us, as well as any athletes I've ever been associated with, and so incredible accomplishments by them on a national scale. And the litany of things from a team standpoint in terms of team awards and team GPAs, and the number of MAC Honor Roll recipients we had. I think upwards of over 40% of our athletes were on the MAC Honor Roll. It's amazing. With each continuing episode, we continue to outdo ourselves in terms of the accolades and the volume of those. So it's very gratifying, and it's certainly something that we want to continue to highlight, with everything that they have on their plate. And you mentioned them getting some well-deserved downtime. So they work really hard during the course of the year. And again, a lot of them are here during summer school. So there's this ongoing process for them to commit to their experience as a Stag, but they produce at a high level. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely, and congratulations to all who receive academic accolades throughout the year as well. And now we turn our attention to our favorite segment here from the director's chair, that is Ask Paul, where you, the folks at home, have an opportunity to fire in the questions over here to our athletics director. And again, if you want to send in your questions to a future episode, fairfieldstags.com/askpaul. So the couple that we have here today, one of them focusing, you talk about the national stage. Fairfield University have had the opportunity to host as well as co-host NCAA tournaments. Recently, a couple of women's basketball regionals, as well as last year co-hosting with Yale University the men's hockey regional. Yep. Future is still bright on that front. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, as well as the impact and importance that it has here?
We've got a lot cooking in that regard. And so we're, as you know, coming off of Fairfield's, being host to the hockey regional this past winter. And then future forward, so we've got an NCAA men's lacrosse quarterfinal, which we will be hosting up at Rentschler Field next spring. Then we have a year off, and then we have the two Final Fours that we are the primary host for. So obviously an extremely important, large undertaking just operationally. And then, as was just announced, as many in our audience may know, we'll also be co-hosting a women's basketball regional in 22. That last year we also host the Final Four. So we've got a lot on our plate in that regard. Why is that of import? Why is that of benefit? Again, as we talk about in a lot of these areas, it's multifaceted. So big picture institutionally, there's great synergy with doing those kinds of things and engaging in those types of events in terms of the vision for the institution. Enhancing our brand identity, being national in scope, and enhancing our national exposure as an institution. And so there's great synergy with the traditional core states that we've really focused on in recruiting students and student athletes. So there's a great benefit to that in terms of our brand and those things. There's also some benefit on the recruiting side. There's benefit to the exposure that it brings to that particular sport that we may be hosting. On the men's lacrosse side, obviously we've invested a significant amount institutionally in that sport and playing in the CAA at a high level. And so it's a relatively small membership, if you will, in Division I lacrosse. So the opportunity to be on that stage and have Fairfield lacrosse, again, be spoken in the same breath at that level is very important for us in terms of the identity it brings to our program. So there's a number of reasons why we do it, but I think it's and there's ultimately some potential revenue generation benefit to us. So there can be a financial impact for us that can benefit us and benefit our student athletes by some of the revenue that can be generated by being associated with that as well. So
Yeah.
it is not an insignificant undertaking on the part of our staff. So there's some sacrifice there, and we have to be incredibly well thought out and planned and organized in that. And it's the first time we've hosted something on the scale of a Final Four, which when you host an NCAA event at any level, it's extremely regimented in terms of the operational aspects of it and the scope of it. And so to do it at the Final Four level is a huge undertaking for us, but it's one that we're excited about and I think we're up to the task for.
Absolutely. And the other question that we had in for this segment, we talked earlier about the men's basketball non-conference schedule. You talked about the importance of continuing that pleasant and friendly rivalry against Jesuit institutions. Sure. One that's a little bit, not to say a hole, if you will, but a lot of people remember the days when Fairfield and Holy Cross always used to tangle. It's obviously a nice New England rivalry. Absolutely. Not on the schedule again this year. And I know, as you said, there's always, you have to peel back and look at why certain teams are in the schedule and why they're not. Of course, competitive balance is one thing, get you ready for the conference. But at the same time, it is a fairly local school. So it's not on the schedule this year, but would that be an opponent that Fairfield would be looking back for in the future?
Absolutely, and it's a great question, and 100%. I mean, frankly, I grew up watching that rivalry, and I've said before, I don't know if I've said it on this episode, but the very first college basketball game I attended with my dad was a Fairfield Holy Cross game. So I completely am in tune to that rivalry and grew up watching it, and place great value on that. Where again, it's going to be a multi-year process to try and touch a lot of these schools. So there's 28 Division I Jesuit institutions, or I shouldn't say there's 28 Jesuit institutions, some of whom are Division I. So doesn't mean we're necessarily going to touch all of them, but we're trying to encapsulate that and kind of work them strategically into the schedule. There's other Catholic institutions that are regional that would be of great benefit to us, while we may not have Holy Cross, we've got Bucknell coming on there, so another Patriot League school that makes sense. So it's just a puzzle, and it's just something that now that our MAC scheduling, our conference scheduling policy has changed, that gives us more flexibility to kind of have more autonomy over it. So it'll be a gradual process to kind of get some of these teams back on. But very excited about the possibility for that, and certainly understand the enthusiasm for that rivalry and to try and renew that.
You never know. Hopefully in the future it might happen again.
That's right. That's right.
Well, fans, thanks again for sending in your questions, and to keep them coming in for future episodes, again, visit fairfieldstags.com/askpaul. And that's going to do it for this edition of From the Director's Chair, the summer update edition. We'll be back very soon as the fall season gets underway. So until next time, thank you very much for watching. Go Stags.